Republicans have celebrated Queen Elizabeth II as an unlikely supporter in their ongoing fight against woke cancel culture after the monarch announced plans on Tuesday to require photo ID to vote in British elections, but many are pushing arguments riddled with factual inaccuracies that fundamentally misunderstand the Queen's role in British politics. Queen Elizabeth II unveiled 30 new pieces of legislation for the year ahead as she formally opened Parliament Tuesday, including controversial plans to require voters to present photo ID at polling stations. The speech prompted some Republicans, including the Republican State Leadership Committee, to mockingly ask whether Democrats will cancel the Queen for her apparent support of voter ID. But the monarch is not actually responsible for the annual speech she gives before Parliament, which is written by ministers and sets out the elected government's legislative agenda for the year ahead. The voter ID proposals are the views of Boris Johnson's government and not the Queen, who must remain strictly neutral with respect to political matters in the UK and refrains from voting in elections. Numerous right-wing commentators, including former member of Donald Trump's legal team Jenna Ellis, incorrectly referred to the monarch as Queen of England and asked if she was racist for supporting the policies, acknowledging a common criticism that the GOP policies that disproportionately affect people of color. The title Queen of England hasn't actually been held since the early 1700s. Elizabeth II is Queen of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Johnson's voter ID plans have been criticized by activists and politicians, who say that proposals would erect needless barriers for millions and, as is the case in the US, disproportionately affect poorer and marginalized communities. Conservative lawmakers in the UK claim the move would cut down on electoral fraud, despite its extremely rare occurrence. Critics say Johnson's move closely models Republican voter restriction efforts, where Republican legislators fabricate, and then utilize, baseless worries of electoral fraud. Yet official UK data shows just 2 people received a conviction or police caution for impersonating another voter in 2019, a year that featured a UK-wide general election, European parliamentary elections and English local elections. Despite a quarter of British voters not owning formal photographic ID, the government insists the new regulations, which are also expected to tighten restrictions on absentee and postal voting, will not have a disproportionate impact on anybody. The government said its pilot plans, along with the successful use of photo ID in Northern Ireland, show the system is viable and fair. More than 800 people were unable to vote during the second trial in 2019. Voting requirements in Britain are liberal when compared to much of the US. Registered voters do not need any identification when voting in person. Postal votes can be requested without giving a reason and, under certain conditions, people may nominate a proxy to vote on their behalf. Northern Ireland, a part of the UK but not Great Britain, introduced mandatory voter ID in 1985 after sectarian attempts to rig elections were uncovered. A requirement for photographic ID was introduced in 2003. Though it is considered unconstitutional for the Queen to vote in elections, she may not require a photo ID to do so if the laws pass. The monarch does not need a passport, driving license or similar documents as they are issued in her name.